chaotic symphony of light and sound, pop and burst, until all that remains is silence and darkness. You wake up sitting in the pilot's seat of a craft pod. Your perspective is limited and you hear breathing, which means you have a helmet covering your head and face. You are in a flight suit of some sort, designed for some distant off-world travel. So far, you are unable to see beyond your mask, but a blinking light brings your attention to an instrument panel just at arm's length. Most of the instruments are broken, save for the one that blinks to let you know everything else is broken. Attempting to ground yourself, you find you have no recollection of the events that brought you here. From what you can see out the window is not much. Your world is enveloped in darkness. The terrain looks flat, but you aren't able to see much more than a few yards from the ship. You open the hatch and get a better view of the strange world. Without proper readings of where you are, you venture to keep your suit on until you can know if the air is breathable. Your suit can hold enough oxygen for up to 18 hours without any extreme strength of physical exertion. Stepping foot on the ground, you notice gravity appears to be similar to Earth. You get your first good look at the sky. Without knowing the day-night cycle, you are unsure. The sky appears to be a dark amethyst color with streaks of indigo haphazardly brushed across it. They act like clouds high up in the sky, each hiding a glowing blue moon behind it. You take quick stock of your situation. The lifeboat you crash-landed was a one-tripper, and the crash did away with any hopes or attempts at a second. Your suit appears relatively untouched from the crash and in good working order. There is a wristband without a reading of an oxygen supply. Other than that, you have your legs and your wits. With no better alternative, you decide to walk away from the lifeboat. Looking over the horizon to the left, you gaze at what could pass as storm clouds in the distance. A thick layer of dark purple hangs between the orange sand and the sky. You see the clouds roll and bubble with momentum. To the right looks clear, so right you go. You do not know how long you may have before the storm hits, and what that would look like here, but you attempt to put some haste in your step. No destination other than survival. A purposeful walk turns to a jog, which briefly jumps to a run, but slows back down to a brisk walk. The weight of the suit and limited oxygen puts a low ceiling on how fast you can travel. You decide a steady pace is best. You have no sense of time or how far you've traveled. You glance behind you every so often to check on the storm, which appears to have stalled, at least for now. You could measure your distance from the pod, but you lost sight of it, and your only point of direction a while ago. with me. A voice thundering across the surface of the planet. The vibrations knock you on your feet. You're momentarily paralyzed by this new mystery. Stay with me. The voice says again, and like before, the world shook. The ground stabilizes and your fear subsides, or at least intensifies enough to get you back to your feet and moving again. You add fearful determination into your walk with an intent of fleeing and hiding. But with nothing to see other than the dark sky and the burnt orange sand, you are once again fleeing with no destination. Deep on the horizon, straight ahead, a small flash of what could be lightning popped. Unsure of the meaning of what you saw, it is promised that something other than darkness, perhaps, so you continue toward it. You believe you make out the rise in elevation in the distance. Could be mountains, or perhaps unnatural mounds signaling life. Either way, you head toward it. The mounds gradually grow in height, and you can be pretty certain that they're natural mountains. This brings a glimmer of hope to an otherwise bleak situation. The change of terrain is a breath of fresh air, so to speak, until the ground elevation drops off and you find yourself on the precipice of a deep canyon. Hesitation brings you to look around for other options. The storm still intensifies behind you. The layer of bubbling blackness is twice as large as before and growing fast. With no alternative, you find a gentle enough slope for you to slide down to a lower ledge. It's about 8 feet or so down. You slide down with a little trouble. You see your path to the bottom is much more of the same, a series of small rock outcrops and ledges a few feet or so down that allows you to get to the bottom. Once at the bottom of the canyon, your worldview becomes much narrower. Your perception is now framed by the dark 60-foot walls that could not be more than 20 or so foot apart. You stay on the move. As you hustle through the maze of dark black rocks, the storm has caught up with you, and there is no more color to the sky. Black clouds spill over the sides of the canyons, cascading down the rock like water down a mountainside. And just like that, the water continues to flow in your direction. You pick up speed, but the rush of the black mostly catches up with you. You continue through the canyon, and as the clouds are up past your knees, you lose notice of any color in the sky, but rather different contrasts of darkness. You are aware of no light source, but are still able to see your path through the colorless void. The canyon walls are narrowing, and the mist is high up around your waist. There is another unmistakable mass to it now. You feel resistance in your movement. The cloud is so dense you cannot see below the surface. The density has created a pressure and it restricts your movement. It feels as if you're walking through a storm cloud with wind crashing at you from every direction. You struggle to keep your movement, but you know you must. If anything, because the alternative is to quit and die, and you don't quit, even if it means your death, your brain starts to process what it sees in front of you. You've reached the end of the canyon, and 100-foot wall is ahead of you. The cloud is nearly up your chest. You have to get out of this. As you approach the wall, you see a small crack about 8 foot tall and maybe 18 inches wide. You stick the face shield of your helmet into the crack to see what is behind it. Like everything else, it's dark, but you sense depth in the darkness. And from a cloud that has seeped into the ground level stays constant, at least for a while. No, don't go. Stay with me. A booming voice echoed through the walls of the canyon. Sonic booms explode into the totality of the atmosphere, disrupting the rocky terrain. Large rocks crumble down from the walls, disappearing into the surface level crowds. Large rocks crumble down from the walls, disappearing in the surface level clouds. You cling to the wall, not wanting to get sucked under the surface. You have to get there. You attempt to escape through the cracks, but your helmet and your suit make it too wide. You desperately try to force metal and plastic through the rocks, but it won't budge. A tsunami of wind builds and comes rushing through the canyon. The force of dense air presses you up against the wall. Your panic pushes you to act desperately and with little thought to possible consequences. You take a deep breath and remove your helmet and try to squeeze through. Still nothing, so you quickly strip off your suit. You take your first breath of alien air and are relieved to not immediately die. It could be oxygen, but it's not poison. The narrow crack blocks most of the wind but forces you to sidestep most of the way. With only one side of the wall that guides you, you press on. Without the filter from the helmet visor, you see the world takes on a dark bluish tone, your arms spreading farther apart. You can tell the gap is widening. The ground slopes so much that you lose your balance and begin to slide. A slide forms to a roll as you travel down a hill before coming to a tumble at the bottom. You roll to your back and look up. Large spikes of black rock with dim blue glow cover the ceiling, hanging down at varied length. You sit up to see the ground is not much different, with opposing spikes stretching up from the ground. You are up on your feet, feeling little effects from the fall. Unsure of where to move next, you stay frozen. A low, inaudible humming voice echoes through the cave before a flash of light blinds you. The brightness subsides and the cave is alive with electricity. arcing from point to point in a concerted ballet. You are able to see the cave now in its full wonder. The ceiling must be 20 foot high, and the expanse looks infinite. Most interestingly, it is a reflection you notice from a large mass of black water. You run to the edge, and it is indeed a lake of blackness. You bend down and you put your hand in it. It's as dark and soulless as oil, but with the touch of water. You stand once again at the precipice of a decision with no clear motivation. The electricity has died down, so you are back to a muted blue darkness. You see no end to this lake, so it could stretch on forever. You step in to check the depth. You look back away from the shore and see a hole you fell in about 8 foot off of the ground, and the wall about 50 yards from the shore, marking the end of the cave. You look around for answers. There's always something. You venture farther from the shore, but the force pulls you back. You find yourself heading back to the lake. Again, the low humming voice throughout the cave and the flash of light. It knocks you into the water before giving way to the electrical current dance above. A rhythmic pounding, weak but noticeable, emerges. It causes the spike to hum and reverberate. You get up and are immediately taken back by the tall cyclone of light at the back wall of the cave. You walk toward it and feel the warmth immediately. It's the first time since you woke up that you noticed the temperature. It never occurred to you if it was hot or cold. But now, as you step closer to this light, arms of warmth reach out to pull you closer. A small black wave rushes up from the lake and swirls around your feet before receding back. You move closer to the swirling black mass of white illumination and are hit by another wave that knocks you to the ground. And this time the current drags you back a few feet. You jump to your feet and sprint toward the light. Another crash from behind, and you fall face forward down into the blackness. The current has you. It pulls you under the black water. You tumble and roll around trying to get a sense of direction. The wave crashes back on land. You're up and sprinting hard now toward the light. You dare to look back and catch a tidal wave building and rushing up quick behind. The brightness begins to hurt your eyes, and you squint but still run. You are hypnotized, but the warmth grabs a hold of you. You feel drops of water falling as you know the wave is about to crash down. You push forward with everything you have left and leap forward just as the wave crashes behind you. The intensity of the wave pushes you forward into a cyclone, and your world goes white. I have a pulse. One EMT alerts another. Okay, she's stable. Let's load her up. Is Mommy going to be okay? A young girl of 8 asks her dad.
Mommy's going to be okay. She got lost in the dark place, but she found the light again.
Flashes of red and blue fade on their faces as the ambulance gains the distance from them. The family watches as their mother heads off toward the rising sun of a new day.